Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn Series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done-For-You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referrals, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Rob Stolker is a true entrepreneur. He currently serves as membership chair for EO, Entrepreneurs Organization in New Jersey. He is the founder and owner of Hummingbird Sports, a female-focused athletic company, and he created the first ever girls lacrosse headgear. He has started and exited, among others, a day trading company, a solar panel installation company, and a real estate company. He's currently a franchisee for Bubbakoo's Burritos, a father of four grown daughters, and a great guy. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Chad. How you doing?
Good. Hey, this show is mainly about restaurants, so we'll focus on Bubbakoo's in a bit. But first, tell me what led you to create the first ever girls lacrosse headgear.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. As a kid, I love playing sports. I grew up in Philadelphia, playing basketball, soccer. My dream was to hopefully have kids one day and have them play sports and be involved in sports. And I'm very fortunate. I have 4 daughters, very athletic. And it started now 8 years ago. I was coaching them in basketball, soccer, all those sports I played. And my 2 youngest asked me to play lacrosse. And I said, of course. I was excited, another sport. But I went to the field not knowing anything about it. And the boys were on one field and the girls were on the other. And boys were wearing big, hard helmets on their head. And girls were on the other field wearing nothing. I just assumed from having 4 daughters, and I have 3 older sisters too, that it was just another example of the girls being underserved. Maybe their helmets hadn't gotten there yet. And it was an example of that, but it was more that, hey, the girls don't wear helmets. They don't need them. Now let's get started. And that answer didn't work for me then. And 8 years later, it still doesn't work, for me. I made the first certified headgear ever. It's my life's mission to see the USA Lacrosse, the governing body of lacrosse, mandates that every girl in the country wears, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Why were girls not wearing helmets?
It's an old school. I shouldn't say every, but other sports have gone through it. The NFL went through what the NFL went through. The NHL, it's only 50 years ago in our history that the NHL had to grandfather in helmets because there was resistance. I always say if you went to a ski slope 15 years ago and went to a good skier with a helmet, they would have looked at you and said, get out of here. I don't like your helmet. And now I don't like you. Go find a kid. I'm a good skier. I don't need a helmet. Now go to a ski slope. Everybody's wearing. So like I said, making the first ever certified product. I had the first one on fields ever. And now the state of Florida mandated. Others are going to mandate it. And eventually soon, USA Lacrosse, the governing body, is going to mandate.
What makes girls lacrosse headgear different than, boys lacrosse headgear?
Yeah, so I'll show you real quick. They put in a standard for soft headgear so you can squeeze it to withstand serious impact like hard headgear. So it has to be soft and also withstand those impacts. So we made some great partnerships. Made all kinds of patented things, a ponytail hairport here, and Hummingbird Sports is our company behind it. We are working on another model headgear. We never thought that our first model was going to be our last model. We're in this for the long haul, and I'm excited to be leading this mission to get USA Lacrosse, the governing body of lacrosse, to mandate that every girl in the country playing who's registered under USA Lacrosse wears headgear.
So, yeah, you mentioned Hummingbird Sports. You're the founder and owner. Tell me about kind of what led to that and what it is.
Yeah, like I said, we knew that girls, female athletes were underserved. We knew that products were being made for boys. And then as a secondary thing, the manufacturers saying, you know what, pink it, shrink it, get it out there, put it out for our girls. Going to fields, courts, We know they're underserved. We know there's so many products and so many different sports that we want to make specifically designed for female athletes. And if you look at it, there's not too many of us. There's a lot of companies who make products for girls, but their primary market and their primary conversations, trust me, are about the boys.
So is that a like a brick and mortar location?
No, so we're making products. We made the first ever leather gloves for these girls lacrosse players. The second thing I noticed was girls were going like this. And I said, why aren't they wearing gloves? The boys wear big, like hockey, like lacrosse gloves to protect their hands. The girls were wearing nothing. I said, why? And basically the point was there's a couple on the market, but they're designed by those boys manufacturers. They don't work for a thin girl's gloves. So we made the first ever these girls, and they're, it's been great. So again, our Hummingbird Sports and leather gloves, they're protective. The girls love them, and we have so many things in the pipeline we want to do for sure.
Hey, tell me about some of you've got all kinds of entrepreneurial experience. Tell me some of your past entrepreneurial experience. I don't know, maybe there's a story that comes to mind as you think about your journey, maybe an exit or a great success, a failure. Maybe, is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, so I'll say the number one story I can tell is that from a young age, what's made me, I was never a student. I did not like school, at least when I got a textbook, I instantly realized I had no chance of doing it. My attention span was very limited, but I always loved business. And I'm very fortunate that I was, from a young age, fortunate enough to make friends. And I always work with my friends. And I still work with my friends. So in Bubbakoo's Burritos, my friend Wayne Jordan, who I've been friends with for 30 plus years. And my answer always is, why wouldn't I want to work with a friend? And I've worked with so many, and I've even so many relationships I have, whether it's my interior padding, my friend Sean Springs, the number 3 pick in the 97, 98 draft, one of the best college players ever. This is his technology. We have an unbelievable relationship. So I've always worked with my friends. Now my story would be that in 2008, I moved in a new house. The back of the house faced directly south, just like my neighbor's house. I didn't know my neighbor at all. We talked for a very little bit, and we both decided to put solar on our house. Next thing I knew, people were coming to us saying, put solar on my house. Within 3 months of knowing the guy, we formed a company, and we're doing lots of jobs. And next thing you know, there was a lot of money in the account and a lot of assets, and he stole it all.
Oh.
And we were in court, Monmouth County Court, for 10 years. From 2009 to 2019. And I got a judgment against him. I write about it in my book, and you can Google Rob Stolker, Randy Goldberg, and read about the case. But I got a judgment of $288,000 against him. But people who know a 10-year lawsuit know I spent double that in legal fees. And the time and energy wasted. And the lesson that some people took from it was, that's why you don't do business with friends. And my answer is no. I built my whole life, my family. We do business with friends. This was my one example that I did business with somebody who was not a friend. It was a neighbor moving in. We had a really good idea, good business idea. There was no trust there, clearly, no friendship whatsoever. And it was, in the end, my fault and my biggest lesson that said I need to stick with my friends. And my friends have never let me down, would never let me down. And they're endless in business as well. And that is, people have asked me what's the secret. And it's just have great friends who I always work with, and we connect with, and we feed off each other. Do we argue? Of course, but we always with a lot of love.
Sean Springs, cornerback, right?
Cornerback, yep.
All right.
Ohio State, yep.
And he played for Washington?
He played for Washington, long time, yeah. So he founded a company, WinPack Technologies, amazing company. Sean is an amazing person. His team is amazing. And I'm so proud to be partners with him, and his company. And it comes from the two of us have a very similar passion, and people always say, or some people say, nice people finish last, and that's absolutely not true. It is, we have similar passions and similar motivations, and love our families and enjoy life and enjoy doing the right thing, and that's what I know I'm doing with this headgear.
Yeah, you mentioned that you've written a book. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. It's called It's a No-Brainer. So one of the things that people like to do is give me quote unquote advice. And I have so many conversations. And so whether it's go on Shark Tank or something like that, and I'm like, that's nice, but I'm not interested. The top thing was write a book, get all these girls' stories. I met so many girls one single ball to their head impacts them for life. Some of the stories I tell in my book about how I met these girls, their families, what their families go through. 7 years later, I have one girl who's had 8 medicative shots to the back of her neck. She was helicoptered off a lacrosse field from one stick to the head. And years later, 8 medicative shots to the back of her neck, and none of them worked. Migraine every day. She's doing great, but she will talk about how much better she could and should be doing if it wasn't for that one injury on the lacrosse field. So I put all those girl story science together. I was encouraged to put my personal story, why it was me who went on this mission to create the first ever girls lacrosse headgear and push it and get U.S. lacrosse to mandate. It was hard to do, but I also told some very personal stories, childhood stories, and I talked about this journey, which was not easy, making this headgear and pushing it, basically doing something that a lot of people inside that world did not like.
Where can people find your book?
So it's on Amazon. It's called It's a No-Brainer. It's $9.99, kept the price low. The first 30 or 40 pages is my story. I get a lot of feedback of, I tell the way that I tell my story and what I went through, something. And then I start to talk about making the headgear and the resistance and all the girl stories and doctors and scientists and coaches who are all on board with the need to have USA lacrosse mandate headgear. So
for those not familiar with Bubbakoos, tell us what a customer can expect when they go to your location.
We love, my partner Wayne Jordan and I love Bubbakoo's burritos. We loved it from the minute we bid it. My first experience was hibachi steak. I just love it. It's just quality. It's made well. There's so many proteins, chicken, shrimp, healthy options, brown rice, vegetables. Everything is made fresh. You come in, you order a steak. The steak goes down on the grill right in front of you. It's all made fresh. We just love it. We love the concept. We love the taste of the food. We love that it's healthy. We also have fryers. We have great desserts and stuff that's, not so healthy, but tastes good. And, who doesn't love those things every once in a while? We just love the brand, love the food, and we're so excited to be franchisees. And we have one open now and another one coming in a month and a third coming in about 3 months and more after that.
Wow, good for you. So what attracted you to becoming a franchisee? It's one thing to enjoy the food. It's another thing to want to just own one.
Yeah, my patience level is very low. It's one of the things I wrote about in my book. I've been with my wife since college, and she's the most patient person in the world. And I always say she has to be because she's married to me. I am terribly, terribly impatient. And other thing is I do have a thirst for learning. And I knew nothing about the franchise world, no different than I knew nothing about the helmet making world. But that's what intrigues me to things is the learning. And when it came to the franchise world, one of the things that we recognized quickly is that if we ask all the questions from the start, the dumbest of the dumbest questions, which we did, and we start to learn, we're going to get it. We're going to get it relatively quickly. We knew we would get in with a great brand like we did with Bubbakoo's Burritos. And somewhat relatively quickly, the doors are open and we're able to employ people, which we love to do. I've always loved employing people and, making a difference and installing our core values. It's very important to me always to instill core values and in everybody, our employees and myself. I always, at every meeting we have starts with our core values. And we have a lot of employees now just in one store. And already I can see the impact that we've made and my team has made on a lot of lives.
What were the early days like? Had you had restaurant experience before? I know you said you hadn't had franchise experience. Any restaurant experience before?
I had endless restaurant experience. I love eating in restaurants. Love it. Love eating in restaurants. But from the other side of it, I had zero. So I love restaurants. I love eating in restaurants. I love the dining experience. My family does. I love taking my family out. And it would have been a long time that my partner and I were looking around, getting a feel of what we were interested. Like I said, we knew we wanted good food. We knew we wanted healthy food. We knew we wanted a cool brand. And we know we got all of it.
What were the early days like for you then? Kind of getting Bubbakoo's up and running.
Yeah, it's challenging. There are challenges, especially nowadays. There's a lot of challenges, but like I said, I knew we had a great brand. I knew people were going to come. I knew people love the food and love the atmosphere that we've created. And but there's plenty of challenges opening a store and a million things that go into it, and the permit process, and there's a lot to it, especially like I said, with there's plenty of issues out there.
Did you find yourself working a lot of hours?
Absolutely, but for me, I'll always say this, and I know it's a cliche, and for me, when I'm enjoying myself, it's not work. It's not at all work. So yeah, the first couple of weeks we were in that store 16 hours a day. I would come home. I wouldn't last 30 seconds in my house without falling somewhere. There's a picture of me from our second day just on the floor of our thing sweeping, and I just had my legs, I had no more in my legs. But like I said, when it comes back to impacting lives, and I know we're doing good by a lot of people, and that makes it so much fun. All that tiredness. And
so when you with that experience, now that you have plans to open a couple more, are you going to have to do that again, or do you have kind of that down and you figured out a way to avoid that?
Yeah, it's not that I have to do it again; it's that I can't wait to do it. I mean, I can't wait to do it again and again and again and all over. I can't wait. I can't wait to go to our next store in our next territory and start from scratch and build up our team there. And, where we already are talking about, obviously bring in some team members over from our first, and giving them an opportunity to live out their dream. And that's part of what we are doing here is, creating a path for people to live out their dreams. And as a leader, that means everything to me.
Good for you. Hey, are there any major differences between opening a restaurant or a restaurant franchise like Bubbakoo's and maybe some of the other entrepreneurial endeavors you've started?
Absolutely. So there's the challenges are different, and the way that I think and everything we're doing is different, and that's what I love is the adaptability to doing something new. And like I said, the figuring it out part, that's the fun for me. That's not the frustration. That's the fun is like, we're going to figure this out. But that path and that journey to figure it out, that's what gets me going every day. That's when I wake up and I just get right back into that mode of what I need to figure out that day. That's my personality. One of the things that I talk about is when I was a kid, my grandmother, when she would look at my report cards and tell me, you're a very smart, young boy. If you apply yourself and really apply yourself, you could be a doctor. And, even if you, don't do so great, you could be a lawyer or an accountant. And I would always look at her and say, I don't want to be any of those things. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's great. But, I always loved being an entrepreneur, wanted to be an entrepreneur from a young age, and to be able to now speak to kids and go to schools and speak to kids about my journey and things that I've done in life as somebody who was not a good student and just thinking differently. And, my goal is always just impact as many lives as I can, whether it's making the first ever Girls Lacrosse headgear or opening up doors for an awesome brand and store like Bubbakoo's Burritos.
How has COVID affected operations at Bubbakoo's, if it has?
Yeah, so for us, we opened our first doors a month ago. And we're in New Jersey, and I don't really get involved in the COVID talk anymore. But what I see is a ton of happy people coming in our store, dining in the restaurant. People out living their lives. I see kids back out living their lives. One of the things that I always say about COVID is I have 4 young adult daughters, and that's hard years where I knew they wanted to get out and live their lives. And for me, if people ask me what was the most painful part, it has nothing to do with business. It's my kids. It was watching my kids, college, high school age, not living to me the life that they that we all hope they live. So to now see it in my restaurant, see these kids coming in and all sitting together and enjoying the great food together, that's the fun for me.
So you mentioned you have some goals with Bubbakoo's. Tell me more about those and maybe other future entrepreneurial goals if any have crossed your mind.
Yeah, so I have 2 main goals at this point, and One is, like I said, for USA Lacrosse to mandate headgear. That day is coming. When that day comes, my biggest fears as an entrepreneur is what that next day looks like. And so Bubbakoo's Burritos is here, and I love the brand. Like I said, I love the food. I love everything. I love their team that they have in place, and I would love nothing more than for USA Lacrosse to mandate headgear ASAP, and for my great friend Wayne Jordan and I to spend however many years we have building Bubbakoo's Burritos, impacting lives, hiring people, and really feeling fulfilled in so many different ways.
Great. Hey, how can people find out more information about everything that you have going on, specifically Bubbakoo's?
Yeah, so Bubbakoo's Burritos, there's a great site, bubbakoosburritos.com. They have a great app to use if you want to order. Our first store is in Hazlitt, New Jersey. Our second one will be in Avenel, New Jersey. And I think this might be the first time that we're announcing it, but we signed a lease within the last 24 hours for location in Troy, New York, an area that I know very well and have a lot of really good friends in. And so we're just starting out here. We want to open up a lot of stores. Like I said, hire a lot of people, promote a lot of people from within, watch people live out their dreams. And the other thing I always say is, for me, I almost feel selfish in saying all that, because it does make me feel good to impact lives and to lead people to living out their dreams.
What about anything else like Hummingbird? Where can people find out more about what
so you can go to hummingbird-sports.com. But more importantly, there's a Brain Safety Alliance, www.brainsafetyalliance.com. That has all the science, girl stories. Go to those girl stories. Watch Sophia's 2-minute video under My Concussion Stories, what she's been through, what her family has been through, watching her go through from one accidental stick to the head. And then my website is www.robstolker.com. And you'll see right on the cover a picture of me holding the headgear and me saying, my mission is to get USA Lacrosse to mandate headgear. I don't shy away from that. If you Google my name, the press has been amazing in that way. But that's my mission. And once they mandate, as far as I'm concerned, that mission is done, and it'll be back to building these Bubbakoo's Burritos and who knows what from there.
What's your go-to item at Bubbakoo's?
The hibachi steak is great. I do like that, but mine is, I love chicken. There's chicken and rice, and there's so many different sauces. They have a great Nashville hot sauce. Depends what I'm in the mood for. Great buffalo sauce. There's a garlic parmesan sauce that I like. They have a great shredded chicken, shredded pork. There's just so many different options to choose from. And that's really what I love about it, is that whatever minute I'm ready to eat. And people ask me, I do eat there 4 times a day, 5 times a day, because I just love the food. But it's whatever I'm in the mood for that second. Sometimes something spicy, sometimes it's desserty, sometimes it's healthy, sometimes not so healthy. So that's the great thing about it. Lots of choices and lots of great options.
Sounds great. Hey, Rob, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You too. Thank you for having me on, Chad. You're great at what you do. It's fun to have watched your videos, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been great talking to you. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.